may think that Caractacus sounds quite a funny name, but in fact, the original Caractacus was the British chieftain who was a sort of Robin Hood in AD 48 and led an English army against the Roman invaders. I expect since then there have been plenty of other Caractacuses, but I don't know anything about them. Then there was the mother, Mimsy Pott, and a pair of 8-year-old twins, Jeremy, who was a black-haired boy, and Jemima, who was a golden-haired girl, and they lived in a wood beside a big lake with an island in the middle. On the other side of the lake, the M20, the big motorway on the Dover Road, swept away towards the sea. So they had the best of both worlds. Lovely woods for catching beetles and finding birds' eggs, with a lake for newts and tadpoles, and a fine big motor road close by so that they could go off and see the world if they wanted to. Well, almost, that is. But the truth of the matter was that they hadn't got enough money between them to buy a car. All the money they had went on necessities, food and heat and light and clothes and all those boring things that one doesn't really notice but families have to have. There was only a little left over for birthday and Easter and Christmas presents and occasional surprise outings, the things that really matter. But the Potts were a happy family who all enjoyed their lives, and since they weren't in the least sorry for themselves, or sorry that they hadn't got a motor car to go whirling about in, we needn't be sorry for them either. Now, Commander Caractacus Pott was an explorer and an inventor. And that may have been the reason why the Pott family was not very rich. Exploring places and inventing things can be very exciting indeed, but it is only very seldom that in your explorations you discover a really rare butterfly or animal or insect or mineral or plant that people will pay money to see, and practically never that you discover real treasure, like in books, gold bars and diamonds and jewels in an old oak chest. As for inventions, much the same troubles apply. People all over the world, in America, Russia, China, Japan, let alone England and Scotland and Wales and Ireland, are inventing or trying to invent things all the time. Every kind of thing, from rockets that fly to the moon to ways of making India rubber balls bounce higher. Everything is being invented or improved all the time by somebody somewhere, whether by teams of scientists in huge factories and laboratories, or by lonely men sitting and just thinking in tiny workshops without many tools. Just such a solitary inventor was Commander Caractacus Pott, and I am ashamed to say that because he was always dreaming of impossible inventions and adventures and explorations in the remotest parts of the earth, he was generally known in the neighbourhood as Commander Crackpot. You may think that's cheek, and so it is, but Commander Pott was a humorous man, and he knew his own shortcomings very well. So when he heard that that was his nickname in the neighbourhood, he was not at all cross. He just roared with laughter and said, "I'll show 'em," and disappeared into his workshop and didn't come out for a whole day and a night. During that time, smoke came out of the workshop chimney, and there were a lot of delicious smells, and when the children put their ears to the locked door, they could hear mysterious bubblings and cooking poppings, if you know what I mean, but nothing else at all. When Commander Pott came out, he was so hungry that first of all he ate 4 fried eggs and bacon and drank a huge pot of coffee. And then he asked Mimsy to call Jeremy and Jemima, who were getting in an awful mess digging out a water rat's hole on the bank of the lake. They never caught the water rat. He dug down faster than they did. The twins came and stood side by side looking at their father, wondering what his invention had been this time. Commander Pott's inventions were sometimes dull things like collapsible coat hangers, sometimes useless things like edible gramophone records, and sometimes clever things that only just wouldn't work, like cubical potatoes, easy to slice and pack and peel but expensive to grow, each in its little iron box, and so on. Commander Pott, looking very mysterious, dug in his pockets and produced a handful of what looked like round, coloured sugar sweets, each a bit bigger than a marble, wrapped in paper. And, still looking mysterious, he chose a red one for Jeremy and a green one for Jemima, and handed them over. Well, sweets are always sweets, thought the children, even though they don't look very exciting, so they unwrapped them and were just about to pop them in their mouths when Commander Pott cried, "Wait! Look at them first, very, very carefully." The children looked at the sweets, and Commander Pott said, "What do you see? What's different about them?" And Jeremy and Jemima said with one voice, or almost, "They've got 2 small holes drilled through the middle of them." Commander Pott nodded solemnly. "Now suck them."